Hey everyone, how you all doing? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Bilikis. Hope you are all doing good because I am. I'm back with another tutorial which will be on how to make this Maxi tulle or mesh dress that I have here. Is divided into two. I have the dress underneath and then the Maxi tulle on top of it. It has two layers, but you could make it have just one. It depends on your preference. Now I have two options here. This fabric I have here is extremely stretchy. You can see that. So that's gonna have a zipper. But if yours is not so stretchy, you can just have a zipper by the side. It's okay. Just to easing it up when you want to put it on. Then I also have the African print fabric. Can you see? Going with this mesh. You can either use black. Black goes on any fabric at all. Just to tone it up. But I want a little bit of colors and all that. So I'm going with this color of mesh, which is fine. Now I think I'll be making use of this very one, but you can also make use of your African print fabric, just that you have a zipper at the back. Okay, good. So now let's quickly digest what we are going through. Now looking at it, there's a dress underneath it. So for me, I'm just going to make it short, so let's say 38 inches in length. And now talking of the mesh or tulle on it, you can just see it's about 1 inch below the armhole line. Then you just make a slight curve to give it that beauty, and then you gather it up. Now, since I know the length of my dress, the one underneath, now let's quickly talk about the mesh. Now I want the length of my dress to be 62 inches from the nape to the floor length, 62 inches. It could be more depending if you are wearing heels or not. Now, since I want it to be 22 inches, I want this part from here to here. I want it to be 17 inches. Remember I said I want it to be 62. So when I remove 17 from 62, that should be 45 minus 17 inches. That should be 45 inches. Now, from here to here now, I will just make it. Let's calculate that. Since I'm left with 45, but remember we still have this yoke on top, though we are not going to be cutting out yoke. So that's about 1.5 or 2 inches below the armhole. So let's just say 2 inches plus my armhole, which is 9. So that's about 11. So now I'm going to remove 11 from this 45. So 45 minus 11 inches. So I should have, that should be about 34, yeah. So that's 34. So that means from here down here will be 34 inches for me. Okay, the length of my dress 38, the length of the upper mesh 34, the lower one 17, and I'm good to go. So now let us start by cutting out the dress. So guys, it is time for us to start drafting. I would have drafted directly on my fabric, but the chalk is not showing at all. So and I want you to see every step I have done, but just fold into 4. You can see once, then twice, so have a total of 4. So I'll be drafting on my paper. Then everything I'm doing on this paper, you do it on the fabric. So good, now let us start. Remember I told you I want the length of the dress inside to be 38. So here I have 38. So this is the starting point of 38. Okay, yeah, this is my armhole measurement of 9 inches from the nape of the neck. 9 inches for my armhole. I believe we all know how to determine that. Your bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. Then from my armhole, I go over to my waist, which is 17. Then to my hip, which is 25.5. And then the length of the dress, which is now 39. 38 plus 1 inch seam allowance, making 39. So that is it. So let's start drafting. So the first thing we are going to do is to determine the shoulder slope. And how do we do that? You measure 3 inches from the center line, 3 inches, mark a point. Then 8 inches, you also mark a point. And from that 8 inches, you just come down by 1 inch. Then from the 3 inches, connect across. So this is what I have. The next thing now will be to insert half of your shoulder measurement. Half of my own shoulder measurement is 8.5 inches. Mark a point there. Come to the armhole line, 8.5. Mark a point. And then you make a straight line. So this is what we have. So the next thing now is to insert the bust measurement. My bust measurement is 44 divided by 4. That will give me 11 inches. So you could add ease of 1/4 inch if you want. That totally depends on your preference and how stretchy your fabric is. So that's it. Plus 1 inch seam allowance. That makes it 12. So that is it. Now we can form the armhole. So all you have to do is to get the midpoint here. Then go in by 3/4 inch. So now, this is the front armhole. That's the front, then the back. For me, I'm going to make my dress with sleeve. But in case you want sleeveless, all you have to do is this. Come in from the shoulder tip here by 1.5 or 2 inches. Then you connect with your armhole curve in here. So you won't be having front or back. So that's it, because I want sleeve for mine. So having done that now, we can talk about the neckline. The neckline depends on your preference. So first, the back, I will just come down by 1 inch or 1.25, however you like it. Then for the wideness, I'm going to make it, let's say 4.25 or 4.5, depending on your preference anyway. Let me just make 4. And for the depth of the front now, I'll make it maybe 4.25. So this is the back. And then the front. Okay. So this is the back neckline and this is the front neckline. So let's keep going. So the next thing now is the waist. But I don't want to take so much tightness at the waist, so I'll leave that for now and go straight to the hip. Now for the hip, my hip is 48 divided by 4, that will give me 12. 12 plus 1 inch seam allowance. I'm just going to connect from there to the bust straight. But for you, please insert your waist measurement. So from this waist now, but because I don't want it to be too tight around that part, that's why I'm doing this. Just come in by half, then connect to the bust and the hip. Okay, plus size, you can do that too. Depends on your preference. So we've successfully added our seam allowance too. So we don't need this, so we are cutting on this. So good. The next thing now will be the hem. So for the hem, whatever you have here is 13. I'll just place it at the end, 13. So here we make it tapered, either 1 inch, 1/4, or 1.5. So it depends on your preference. If it's 1 inch is here, 1.25. I think I'll just do 1.5. So that's all we need. So I'm just going to cut it out. Then for the neckline, I'll cut the back. Sorry about the back. The back should be from here. Because I want it to be 4. So this is it. This is going off. Okay, let me quickly add the shoulder seam allowance to it. So 1/2 inch. This is exactly what you should draft on your fabric. After cutting, this is what I have. So the rest will be for the sleeve. The next thing is to trim the front armhole. And the front armhole. This is it. I'll be removing one. See how it looks like. Let's see. So I'll be removing one, which should be the back. So this can be the back and the front. Make sure everything is equal. So I'll place this back. Then trim the excess of the armhole and the front. So that's all. So guys, I've cut out that. So you can always keep this for your bodycon dress because it's just a bodycon dress for the dress underneath. The remaining one will be for your sleeve. If you don't know how to cut sleeve, I'll put that in the description box below. So now we have the front and the back. This is the front. And this is the back. So that's it. Super stretchy. Let me see. So the next thing now is for us to cut out the mesh or the 2 nets. So this let us go to calculating the amount required. Now, this upper part is not as much as the lower part. The lower part should be minimum of times 2 of the upper part. The upper part too, how voluminous you want it to be depends on your preference. But Tulle, you can never get enough volume of that. So the minimum you should do is your bust or hip measurement multiplied by 3. Either 2.5, that is 2.5, or 3. So it depends on your preference. Let's say you want to use 2.5 inches. So that would be 44 is my bust times 2.5. So here I have 110 inches. So divided by 36. 36 is 1 yard. So that's 74. So 74. Sorry. I did minus. So 110 divided by 36. So here I have 3 yards to gather up. But to me, I don't think that will do. So I will advise you to do, since it's giving you like 3 yards, I would advise you to do like 5 yards. So let's say you want to do times 4. All well and good. That's 44 times 4. That is times 4 in 4 places. That will give me 176 inches. So divided by 36. So that will give me 4 yards, 4.8. So that's almost 5 yards. So I think I'll go with 5 yards or even 6 yards. So it depends on your preference. There's no standard way. So it depends on the volume you want. So I think I'll go with 5 yards. So that means if 5 yards will be for this upper part, this lower one, I will do times 2 of that. So that will be 10 yards. So and here I have 10 yards of 2. So it is more than enough to go round. Cut out the 2 necks and my sleeve. So the next thing is to explain. So here now I have 35 inches because of the seam allowance, half an inch on both sides, the upper part and the lower part. So you can see that 35 inches of 6 yards. I decided to go for 6 yards. So 3 yards will be for the front, 3 yards for the back. So that was what I have here, 6 yards of 35 inches. Then here I have 17, so that will be 18 inches. So you can see that's actually 18 of 12 yards. That's what I have here, 12 yards. So those are the tool we are going to be joining together. So this will be the upper part and this will be the lower part. So we are going to gather it all to the size of the dress. So now let us now decide how we want the or where the tool is going to start from. So this is the back. So the first thing I'm going to do is this. From here, I'm going to mark 1.5. The chalk is not, I will try as much as possible, 1.5. So I'll make sure that is straight. This was it. So make sure it is straight. So the back is just going to be straight. So I'm going to do this to the other side, or you can just notch so as to get it correctly, or just mark. This is where it is. Here too. Just hope the chalk is showing. So 1.5 from your armhole, and then you make a straight line. This is it. So this is where it's going to be placed. Can you see it at the back? So that's it for the back. So the next will be the front. Push it like this. The same thing, I'm going to come down by 1.5. Or you can just do 1 inch. It just depends on your preference. Either 1 inch or 1.5, however you like it. It's 1.5. Then make a straight line. So now in the front, we are just going to come up, because when you look at what I drafted, I'm trying to make the chalk show because this fabric is so stretchy. So that is it. So after making a straight line from the 1.5 inches, so the next thing now is for you to come up. So about 4 or 5 inches from here. So let's just do 4.5. So you mark that point, and then I'm going to connect in a curvy manner into about 2 inches from the armhole region. So from this straight line now, let's see what I have. So I have 1.5. Okay. So the next thing is to curve it out. So I'm just going to curve it this way. And you see, so you can't see the chalk. This is the line, 1.5 straight. After that line, come up by 1.5, and then use your hip curve if you have. So this is what the 1.5. This is the straight line, and then I'm just going to curve it this way. fabric is so stretchy. So that's all I did. I think you are okay with this description. So that's where we are going to place it. So the next thing we are going to do is to decide if you are using a facing or a bias strip to fix the neckline. So let us start joining it together. So guys, it is time for us to sew up our dress since we have cut it out. So the first thing I did was to just join it by the shoulder, which is easy to do. You can see that I joined by the shoulder and then use a bias strip of the same fabric to make the neckline. You can see how easy that is. So I can also attach the sleeve. So the next thing we are going to do now is this. Let me first explain the two. This is the mesh for the lower part. So I gathered it, remember it was 12 yards, so now I've gathered it to 6 yards because 6 yards is the upper part. Good. Now to the upper one. So this is what I have. It is 6 yards, so I had to gather it to half of my bust measurement. So this is one. So this is 3 yards being gathered, and this is another 3 yards being gathered. So the next thing for us is to fix it. And how do you do that? All you have to do is to place it this way. This is the front. And then the marking is there. Although it's not visible to you, but I tried to use ruler to explain what I did. 1.5 inch straight, then 1.5 above, and then you curve it out. So the next thing you are going to do now is this. This is it. We want to have something like this. Can you see? So I would have sewn it together, but to make it easier, that's why I separated it. And I'm going to show you how you are going to do that. All you have to do now is this. Flip it this way. Trust me, it's going to come out nice. Already made one. So when I tell you it will come out nice, so you start pinning. So you take your time to pin it down that way, following the curve. So can you see the way I've pinned it all down along the curve? So that's how it's going to be. The next thing now is to start sewing from about 2 to 2.5 inches. So you skip this because we are still going to join this to the tulle at the back, then the main fabric to the main fabric. So that's why I will advise you to leave 2 to 2.5 inches on both sides. Then I'm going to sew it down, then flip over, do the same thing to the back. I've joined the two to it. Can you see the way I joined it? And then it falls. By the time you join the lower one, it won't be as puffy as this again. It's going to pull it down. So that is it. So I've attached the sleeve. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to turn. Remember, we have excess of 1 inch here. So I just pin it down with my pin. Let me remove it. So I left 2 inches. Okay, so this is it. Can you see what I did? So I left this side. So how do you now going to do it? You're not going to turn to the wrong side. I've sewn this other side so you'll see it. Good. So now you will turn to the wrong side and then sew in 1 inch straight down. Good. And then this is what you will have on this side that you sewn. So joining from the sleeve. So once you join it, this is what you will have. Okay? So in case you are not using a very stretchy fabric as mine, you can just have your zipper by the side just to ease it. But this is so stretchy, so I don't need a zipper. So having sewn it, can you see what I have now? This is it. So the next thing I'm going to do now is bring this together. So I'm going to do it to the other side. So I'm going to now bring this together, sew in 1 inch all down. So by the time it's now connected, I can now come back here. The same way I fixed this, I'm just going to sew it to the side, and that is all. I've joined it, and this is what it looks like. So the next thing will be for me to join the lower one. This is the front. Okay, you can see what the side looks like now, perfectly done. And then the back. This is what the back looks like. I've not pressed at all. So the next thing will be for me to join the lower one to it. And then I'll show you the outcome. Then you need to make your belt as long as you want. The wideness I made is 2.5 inches. What our lovely dress looks like. You can see how beautiful and voluminous it is. Isn't this just beautiful? So just make sure you mix your fabric with the two right. Like, you can also use it for your pregnancy maternity shoot moderately, because this is moderate and it won't show off your body part at all. So I'm going to show you the back and see how beautiful it is. Guys, this is the back and you can see it is just as beautiful as the front. The tulle is coming out so beautiful. Just try to blend your fabric, as I've said. You can share yours with us on our Facebook group, Sewing Innovations. And then for our online classes and sewing tools, use the number in the description box to get to us. I remain your girl, Bilikis. Bye.